What's going on today, guys? So I want to talk to you a little bit about First Amendment audits and give you kind of my take on these things and what I think about them. Most of you out there, a lot of you probably know what a First Amendment audit is. There are seemingly tens of thousands of videos on YouTube where people are conducting First Amendment audits. If you don't know, it's basically when a citizen of the United States, a free citizen, doing nothing wrong, engaging in a completely legal activity, goes to a public place with a camera, whether it be a police station, sometimes it can be outside of a courthouse, sometimes it'll just be along a sidewalk, sometimes they'll be on public property outside of some facility. Let's say maybe a facility that has something to do with Homeland Security. I've seen people go to outside of like a prison or a port of entry or something like that, but they stay on public property and they just film. And the point of this is very simple. It is to show that what they are doing is legal and that you should not be harassed and bullied and detained and forcibly ID'd when you have done nothing wrong, when you have committed absolutely no crime. And what usually ends up happening in these thousands upon thousands of videos floating all over YouTube is eventually some form of law enforcement will show up and they will attempt to first require ID from the individual when in fact the vast majority of states in the United States are not stop and ID states. Police do not have the ability to just come up and detain you and demand ID unless you are committing a crime or they suspect you have just committed a crime. And they try and get ID, and when you won't give them ID and you explain, I'm just here filming, I'm on public property, how can I help you, can I go, am I free to go, am I being detained, that kind of thing. It usually goes through 10 to 15 to 20 to 30 minutes of harassment until usually one of a couple things happen. Either eventually a sergeant shows up, talks to the individual explains what they're doing, and usually somebody higher up who has a few brain cells left will say, okay, that's fine, sorry, and you're free to go, whatever you want to do, just keep filming, that's fine. And then they make the other officers go away. That happens a lot of the time, fortunately. But sometimes what happens is these people actually end up getting arrested. I've seen people thrown to the ground, cameras knocked out of hands, arms twisted behind backs, all kinds of things. Why? Because the police just think they can demand you show them ID and they can just demand you stop filming on public property. At least it seems like a lot of officers seem to think that. A lot of law enforcement seem to think they can just stroll up to any average everyday citizen conducting themselves responsibly, partaking in a 100% completely legal act, and just tell you to leave or turn your camera off or go away or I'm going to detain you and arrest you and ID you. And so the idea behind a First Amendment audit is to put law enforcement in check. As a citizen, as a free citizen of the United States, to put law enforcement in check and to show the world, hey, don't let law enforcement bully you. Now this is very similar to what Open Carry Texas did here a few years ago, where they were rolling into Chipotle carrying AR-15s and AK-47s and SKSs on their back. Now, they didn't do that because they were trying to threaten anyone. They were trying to make a point. They were trying to say, hey, this is ridiculous that here in the state of Texas, I can open carry an AR-15 into Chipotle, but I can't just carry a Glock or a revolver on my hip. Now, fortunately, their actions and the actions of many others here in Texas eventually led to us just here a couple years ago getting open carry in Texas finally. So good job. But it is very similar to what people are doing with these First Amendment audits, and I believe these two things are equally as important when it comes to your First Amendment rights and your Second Amendment rights. And I absolutely support and applaud people who go out and keep law enforcement in check. And that's not necessarily a dig on law enforcement. There are still a lot of good cops out there. In fact, some of these videos show that there are good cops out there that leave these people alone and understand what people's rights are and understand the law. But unfortunately, far too many don't. And I think it is an absolutely fantastic thing when citizens go out there and through nothing more than just being responsible, being respectful in almost every single case in every single video I've seen, and with just using a camera can go out there and prove a point to the people that the government says can tell you what to do. Because in the United States, in a free society like we have, I think having a healthy distrust for law enforcement or anyone that the government says can tell you what to do is ultimately very healthy and very, very American.